right, welcome back to your next month of the One Sheet Wonder template. And this particular one we've done a little bit different. I'm trying to add some information at the top so we don't get confused, or I should say I don't get confused. But we're going to be working with a 12 by 12 this time. And I've numbered the boxes. So on the ones that you see that have the little grayish line going horizontal or vertical, those are the ones that we're going to cut, and then we're going to cut according to that mark. So for instance, on numbers 1 and 2, we're going to cut it 4 by 5 1/4, and then we're going to cut it, turn it at on the 4-inch side and cut at 2 inches. Okay, and then for instance on the number 3, we're going to cut that one, and then we're going to flip it and cut 2 inches off. So your 1, 2, 3, and 4, you'll just cut just like the thing says, 4 by 5 1/4, and then 5 1/4 by 4, and then you want to cut down on the 4-inch mark at 2 inches, and then 5 1/4 you mark at 2 inches. Okay, and then these are going to be just like it says on the template, as well as that one. And then these you're going to cut, and then you're just going to cut it at an angle. It doesn't have to be exact from corner to corner. You just want to make a slight angle, and it's just going to make it look a little bit different. I've just put down here, you can line up one side about 1 1/4 inches from the top or bottom, and then you'll cut it and you'll have a little bit larger gap. So once we go through this, you'll see how it works. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started, and let's get our paper cut. I'm going to be using the hand penned designer paper from Stampin' Up. So let's bring this in, and we're going to go ahead and cut our paper. I'm going to put in my, I'm going to put in my paper. And according to the template, the first cut that we want to make is going to be at 4 inches. Okay, so let's go ahead and cut our 4 inches first. Let's move this over and line this up at 4. We want to make sure we get it lined up at the top and the bottom, because we want to make sure everything is straight. So we're going to cut this at 4. All right, so we're going to set that off to the side. And then the next one, we're going to cut at, I'm going to turn this, and we're going to cut 4 by 4, because see, this leaves 8 inches, right? Because we cut 4 off of 12. So let's turn this sideways, and we're going to cut numbers 5 and 6, and those are 4 by 4 squares. So we're going to go ahead and line this up at 4 inches, top and bottom, and we'll go ahead and cut this one. Okay, so this one we'll go ahead and cut and get our 2 squares. Let's go ahead and knock this one out. All right, so there's our 2 4 by 4 squares. Here, I'm going to come down 1 1/4. So I'm going to look on my Stampin' Trimmer right here. So I'm going to bring my blade down to about 1 1/4, and I'm just going to make a little notch, or make a little, make a pencil mark. That way, so right here is where I've got it, right? So I'm going to take that, and I'm just going to turn it, and I don't want it to go all the way cornered. So I'm going to cut it so I have a little bit of both on each side. A little bit, one side might be a little bit bigger than the other, but we're going to do like that. So we could have moved this over and had a little bit larger piece. So we'll do that on this one. So we'll do the same thing. I'm just going to eyeball this one. So I'm going to try to cut right, leave me that much there. And then I'm going to bring this one down. So we should have, let's do that. And again, there's no right or wrong. And I've got my 2 pieces. And there's no right and wrong on how you want to do these. It's whatever works for you. So, all right, so we have those 2 squares there. Now let's come back. This is our 4-inch piece, right? So we want to cut at 5 1/4. Cut 2 of those. So we've got 5 1/4. And we're going to move this over, and we're going to cut at 5 1/4 again. Then this piece, we got 5 1/4, 5 1/4. And this is leaving our 4 by 1 1/2 piece. All right, so this one we're going to leave as is. Now, according to this, our 4 by 5 1/4, we're going to cut 2 inches off the long side. So we're just going to put them together, because we can cut these 2 off the long side, which is basically going to make this, what, 3 by 4 1/4, right? Then I'll show you why we're going to do that. So we're going to move this down to, we want to take 2 inches off, right? So we want it to be at 3 1/4. So 3, 4, 5. All right, so we're going to do that. And then when we make our card, we're going to use both pieces, but we're going to flip one like that. All right, so that's the first number 1 and 2. So let's put that over there. That's the 4/4 one. We've already done section 2. Now this is the last section. All right, so this is 8 by 8. So we did our, we took our 4 by 4 off. So now we want to do 2 more 4 inches by 5 1/4. So let's go ahead and line this up at 5 1/4, 5 1/4. Okay, so we're going to pull this off to the side for just a second. Now we're going to turn this and cut this at 4 inches. So we've got 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so these are the same. So now we're going to take 2 inches off the long side again, but we're going to do it this way. So we're going to bring this over to the 2-inch mark. All right, same thing. And then we'll have these, and then we can flip these over. Now, if you don't want to flip them over, you can use these and make extra cards, okay? So we're going to put those off to the side so we know that's our center portion. And this leaves us the 2 3/4, right? So 2 3/4, and according to our template, we're going to cut 2 of these at 4 inches. So we've got 2 3/4, so I'm going to turn this, and we're going to do 4 inches, and that gives us 2. And these we're going to leave as is. We're not going to cut them. All right, so let's put that off to the side, and I'll be back with my cards, and we'll see you back in just a moment. Okay, I am back with the cards that I created using our template. Sorry for the mess. You can see that I was practicing doing some inking on them. All right, so let me show you what I have created. I've got a little bit of a mess here. Okay, we're going to start with these here. Now, I did cut these at 4 by 5 1/4, and then I cut 2 inches, so I actually have 2 sections. So I really have 4 cards right here. So this is what I've done. I'm using Pale Papaya, Mint Macaron, and Garden Green cardstock, which coordinates. I'm using the Hand Pen Petals stamp set along with the coordinating designer series paper through Stampin' Up's annual catalog. And this, so I cut this and laid it on an 8.5 by 5.5 piece of Pale Papaya. And again, as I've mentioned in the previous videos, I always will put a white sheet on the inside when I'm ready to send this out. And this, I made a birthday card, and I used our double oval punch, which is a really good punch to use because it gives you the ability to do a scallop to go underneath your oval. And what I did was I used this stamp set from I think it might have been from the Hand Pens. I used a couple for the sentiments, but this was one long word. So I just inked up part of the happy and then stamped it, erased, cleaned it, and then did the birthday and stamped underneath so that I could get it on my oval. All right, so that's the one card I did. And then here's another one. This one I'm using Mint Macaron, and these are all of these are cut at 8.5 by 5.5. I think all but 1 or 2. And then I use the Label Me Lovely punch here. And what I did was to, once I punched this out on white, I put it back in the punch just enough to cut it down just a little bit so that I could have the bigger one layered underneath. And then I added some of our brass butterflies that are new, and they are in our January through June mini catalog, and then I used some Pale Papaya ribbon, and then I popped this up on Dimensionals. I did use before I stamped my sentiment in Pale Papaya, I used one of our blending brushes and did a light inking of the Mint Macaron. So that kind of showed through. All right, so that's another one. And then the next 2, this is Garden Green. Again, this one is cut at 4 1/4 by 11, and I have it opening to the left like a book. And this one I put the designer paper straight on the card, and then I stamped the happy birthday in the same color ink, and I stamped it once there and once on each side of the card there. All right, and then the next one, this is our, no, it's not. I'm sorry. This is the other part of this one here of the 2 inches at the 4 by 5 1/4, and then we cut 2 inches off. So this one I did the same thing. Again, this is 4 1/4 by 11. Placed that on here, and I did the same thing using that punch. I used Mint Macaron for the background, and then white with our Pale Papaya and a couple of the butterflies. All right, and then the next piece is this 4 by 1.5. So since that wasn't a very big piece, I went ahead and ran this through the embossing machine using the folder is the it's one that's designed for the mini catalog, and it has two, one which is all leaves, and then the other one has leaves at the top and leaves at the bottom. I tied a piece of soft succulent ribbon. I stamped out using the postage stamp punch a piece of soft succulent, and then I did the same thing. I punched out the white and then put it back in and cut just slightly enough off to give it a little bit shortness so that the soft succulent could show through, and then I popped that up on dimensionals. But isn't that cute? It's just a cute way that you can do things, and I like the way that the vines came out. Okay, and then we're going to move on to our 5 1/4 by 4. So these two, I cut the 2 inches off, and then what I did was, these are 8 1/2 by 11. So I put one down with the flowers up and then flip the reverse side over. And I stamped this in garden green, which is coordinating with our cardstock. And I used some of the new glass rocks embellishments on here, and I thought that really added a nice touch because it does blend in with our color scheme. And then I did the second one. I did this at 4 1/4 by 11. Did the same thing, but I flipped the larger piece over to show the back side, and then the smaller piece with the flowers, and did the same thing with the Me Lovely punch and cut it down just a little bit to show the coordinating paper in the background. And then the next two, which are the 2 3/4 by 4, I did something a little different. This is based on mint macaron, and I placed it at an angle, and then I took a piece of our vellum cardstock and a blending brush, and on this particular one, I just lightly underneath on the back side, inked it with, I brushed it with the mint macaron ink, which you might be able to see it kind of shadowed. And then I stamped the happy birthday, and I fussy cut that out and popped that up on dimensionals. And the vellum, I turned it at the opposite angle, used glue dots to hold that down. And then I did the same thing on the other one, but this one is cut at 4 1/4 by 11, and I have it going this way, and this is pale papaya. Now on this one, I have the paper going to the left, and I used Blushing Bride underneath, which you can see the pink in the background, and then I stamped the birthday in Blushing Bride as well, and fussy cut that out with my paper snips. And then the next two are the 4 by 4s. Now one of them I did, I took one corner and put it on one card and the other corner on another. And this is one of those. I did stamp some of the, one of the flowers from the hand pen petal stamp set. Place the corner up here on a piece of pale papaya on garden green cardstock. And then I used our double oval punch and punched that out and popped those up on dimensionals. And then this is the other half to that one, and I flipped that one over. I stamped one of the flowers out of that hand pen petal stamp set, colored this with the watercolor and mint macaron and pale papaya, and then I went back over the mint macaron with a little bit of the pale papaya to give it some shadowing, and then I used some of our white baker's twine with our double oval punch. Isn't that cute? I really like this. This is a great template. And the last one, I did both corners, so I cut them and put them both here on a piece of basic white, and then I stamped the sentiment from on the horizon in the coordinating mint macaron. So there are my cards. I did 11 cards. Now just to show you what you can do, the same paper, but we've changed it up by the way that we've shown our paper and cut it. Isn't that marvelous? I'm gonna put these down here so that y'all can see. Hopefully, let me see if I can see. Oh, I don't want to zoom in. Hang on. Zooming out. Put these in here so that you can see them. But this is what I did with my templates. So let's see what you all do with yours. Post them to our Facebook page. That would be really great. And I will see you again next month. If you need anything, please reach out and let me know. Thanks again, and enjoy your template.